Well, hello there, traders. Welcome to this weekend update. Today is Sunday, May the 5th, and we're going to be perusing through the usual the dollar, the VIX, gold, SPY, Nvidia. We'll also throw in USDT dominance. We'll take a look at Total 3 and the Bitcoin as usual to see if we can understand better what is going to take place in the next week. All right, so let's just jump right in. I've got the Bitcoin chart up. We'll cover that last. Let's start with the dollar per usual. So what has happened here, guys, is the dollar has not tagged that 107 mark as previously expected. Instead, we just broke down below this support of 105.6, and we take that 50-day moving average right here, bounce back up, hit the underside of our rather bearish ascending megaphone pattern. I can delete these arrows because that's obviously not the price action. And what is looking like here is we've got a small M pattern. So again, I think we're going to come all the way down to that 103.5 level now. That looks to be the way that the price is going to move. Okay, supporting the price projection on the dollar as it comes down is our VIX here. Now notice previously I was surprised that we came back into this orange area, but I thought, okay, well maybe we're going to tag this pink ascending trend line and then move back up in terms of fear. Well, that has not happened. In fact, the good news is we have broken below that trend line and are continuing to make our way down, which is rather, in my opinion, surprising. VIX, with all the geopolitical events that are taking place here, it's pretty amazing to me that fear, if this is a true indicator, some people believe it's a suppressed indicator, but if this is true, it's pretty amazing that fear continues to downtrend. All right, so now we know that with the dollar down and the VIX going down, then we should see up movement in the SPY. So let's take a look at the SPY next, actually. We'll just jump straight over to that. And then we'll jump back over to gold and talk about that in regards to precious metals, commodities, etc. So this is interesting with this SPY. Right now, we have moved above, and you'll remember previously I expected us to tag the bottom of this red channel. So we did that actually twice, and then we moved back up, and I thought, well, okay, maybe we'll come back down because it looked, according to my thesis, with the dollar continuing to move up, and at that time I was projecting 107 on the dollar. I expected a bounce on the VIX. I expected gold to go back up. We'll talk about that in just a second. So then my thesis was, well, we still could move back down, and we did, but we only tagged the bottom of this red channel again. We did not come into this orangish, yellowish area, which I thought was going to be a probability at the time. Instead, we have moved back up, and now we are tagging that 50-day moving average. And look at where the market makers have us close, right on that 50-day moving average, giving the market a whole bunch of uncertainty. Really, the only good news here is that we are back above this red channel. So if I'm a betting man, I would say the probability of us opening on the top side of that 50-day moving average at the start of business on Monday is greater than us moving back down into the red portion of the channel. And there's several reasons for that, but one of the things I just spotted now as I'm speaking, and I do this a lot in these videos, is this W pattern. All right, so that is a bullish pattern. I'll change that to green so you can understand that. And so because we're above this red channel, fighting with the 50-day, looking to be defeating it, and we have this bullish W pattern, you know, aggregating that data with what we're seeing on the dollar breaking down and the VIX breaking down, I'm going to go ahead and say our pullback in the US stock markets is currently or temporarily over. Okay, something that is interesting here, however, is the gold chart. I told you I would review the gold chart. If I zoom into the 4-hour pattern, 4-hour time frame, you can probably see this better. But there is this descending wedge. All right, that's definitely very bullish for gold. All right, so even though the dollar has pulled back and the VIX is lower and stocks look to be moving higher, we have several things here. And I'm going to zoom back out to the daily so you can see this better. We have some gaps. This gap right here is especially noticeable. And we have this bullish descending wedge. So gold, and I would say precious metals following gold, even commodities, may continue to rise despite the fact that the dollar and the VIX are dropping currently. We'll see how all of that plays out, because that's a little bit of a variance. Usually they all kind of correlate and coincide and go together. In this case, we're seeing some divergence here in gold. It looks like gold is continuing to be strong and will continue to lead precious metals and show us that commodities will continue to be strong, and show us that real estate values will continue to be fairly strong. While the SPY moves up, dollar and VIX moves down. So now what can we see from our mega corp leader Nvidia, all right, which obviously plays very well with Bitcoin prices, because this is what we're using many times to mine the Bitcoin, all right, is those Nvidia graphics cards. All right, so we had this M pattern and it looks now to have completed. All right, that M pattern was in play, looks to have completed. Now what I expected us to do was come back up, and then we still have this gap over here. Let me see if I can get my focus on the arrow. We have this gap right here at 0.618 on the Fibonacci retracement. I drew that from the high, the most recent high, to where we started this bull run down here. All right, so again, that gap, generally those gaps are filled sooner rather than later, and it's just interesting that this comes at the 0.618. So again, I still would expect that gap to be filled. However, again, we have this variance where stocks look to be moving up because of gold and VIX coming down. So next week is going to definitely be interesting because of these divergent indicators. We'll see how it plays out. So what's the Bitcoin dominance chart telling me? Well, it did exactly what I thought it would do. All right, we broke out of this descending purple trend line, which again, we have never been on the top side of. All right, Bitcoin is now on the top side of that for the first time in its history. And I expected it to come down. You can see by these arrows that we did come back down and retested that trend line as I expected. So now, again, this red trend line should change that to green color so you can see, again, Bitcoin dominance should proceed upwards, or we could just have, sideways action, which also would be good for our altcoin space. All right, but the dominance chart is really telling us the story here. You can see this bearish ascending wedge, and I just posted yesterday, I believe. I said we are going to this is going to break soon, and yeah, literally hours after I posted that, we did break. Why does this help us? All right, well, when people are more risk averse, they'll tend to take their positions, pull out of their entries, pull out of their investments, and put it in stablecoin because stablecoin is now dropping. That a stable has got to go somewhere. Most likely, it is going to, as we saw from the dominance chart, it is most of this is probably going to dump into Bitcoin and continue to keep Bitcoin dominant. But it is likely that on some of the most attractive altcoins, we'll see some of this stable inflow as well. And that will help altcoins out. But it's not going to be everything. It's going to be those strongest and most suited to win. All right, jumping over to the total 3 chart, my previous thesis is that altcoins were forming a double bottom. I expected that over here when we moved back up, and I predicted that, well, altcoins looked like, based upon everything else, that they were going to drop again. They did drop again. And I thought, well, if they drop again, we could be forming a W pattern here, which is a bullish indicator. We did so far and are so far forming and carrying out that W pattern. Didn't come as low as I expected even. All right, so altcoins may be in some sense a heads up of what Bitcoin is going to do here. They're telling us that altcoins remain surprisingly strong with the Bitcoin pullback, and it looks like altcoins are forming that W pattern, the double bottom pattern, and are going to move up. Okay, final chart here is the Bitcoin chart, of course, and here you can see my multi-year support resistance line. This comes from 2019. I'm not sure where the label went, but we have, obviously, if you've been following me, been focusing on that line for several months now. I was surprised when we broke above it, but then we used it as support over 9 times. Now, one thing I did do, guys, is I did reevaluate this line. I went all the way back to 2019 to ensure that I've got it as accurate as possible. The problem with these longer trending lines is that there can be different areas that that the cycle you may not get it exactly right. So previously I had it drawn something like this. It was a little bit lower. It's just something like that. All right. And I went back and I just wanted to make sure it was as accurate or as probable as possible that the technical analysis, the market may be following the psychology of that particular trend line. And so I moved it up a little bit, and still Bitcoin beat even that. All right, so you can see right now Bitcoin is above that, back above that trend line. The more we cut through that trend line, the less significant it becomes. Let me remove this VRVP so you can see that better. All right, so as we continue to cut through this line, it just becomes less and less significant. So once again, Bitcoin, the bears are unable to keep it down. They just do not find within them the strength to do so. Okay, I wanted to pause the video quickly so that I could get a couple of trend lines here that I noticed were not showing on the chart. The first one is this purple trend line, this purple ascending trend line. That was my first target down, if you remember. Second target down if we continue to drop, if we continued, and I'm going to say it past tense now because I'm not sure we're going to get this now, was 48,000, approximately 48,500. Why do I have that as a second target down? Because that is the neckline for this larger, longer term trending inverse head and shoulders pattern, the target of which is around 80,000. So now if we're not going to come back down, if the bears do not have the strength to bring us down and touch that, which I'm doubting they do at this point, then we will continue to accumulate here. We'll either continue to move sideways, or at some point in the future, the bulls are going to come in strong, seeing that the bears are not in the mood to take us down any further, and they're going to create that big golden candle. We're going to get such a pop in Bitcoin that the markets will go crazy. We'll see which one of those two. There's no indicator yet to show me, exactly when or if that will occur. As of now, it looks more sideways-ish, all right, which again is good for those altcoins. All right, we formed that double bottom pattern on total 2, and I think we can continue to see altcoins rise and move up. All right, one more thing on the Bitcoin chart I do want to show you is this volume. If you'll notice here, I've got the 100-day moving average down here indicated in blue, and I'm going to get out a trend line. Right now, the volume is sloping down, all right? So that could also explain why Bitcoin is moving up, because all of these, the largest candles here you see are seller candles, all right? So we need to still be cautious and keep that in mind, because when volume comes back into the market, the big question is, will it be the sellers again that are keeping that volume high? And if it is the sellers, then you know what that means for good old Bitcoin coming back down. And at that point, I would think we're going to break this ascending purple trend line. And I would think that 48,500 is a possibility. Again, we're going to have to watch this week. We're going to have to really watch this line closely. We're above it now. Are the bulls going to keep us above that? That is the big question. All right, one more chart I guess I might as well talk about since we've got a few minutes left. Here is Solana. Solana, of course, is one of the big leaders in the market. Very hot coin. I was holding this from $8, guys. From $8 all the way up to 210. Well, I actually, in my hodling position, I chickened out at around 130, 140. All right, so I didn't really hold it all the way up there, but still holding it from $8 to 140. That was a great hodl. So that was not a trade, but that was one of my hodls. All right, and then for the traders though, I drew out this 0.618. This is actually a Fibonacci fan, which I don't have up here. Let me pause the video and see if I can pull that up for you guys. All right, there it is. Here's my Fib fan. And one of the things you'll notice right away is that we have come almost to tag this 0.618. That was my expectations for Solana. All right, and you'll see right here, if you can see that with all the noise going on, that wick down, we almost touched that pink trend line. So I had that spot on. I don't think Solana's going lower, guys. I think this is it for Solana. All right, so those of you who are big Solana fans, as I am, now's the time to be really DCAing into all of these Solana coins. Depending on your risk tolerance, you can go with the meme coins, you can go with the exchanges. There's some hot coins on Solana, and but if you want your safest bet, of course, is just Solana. And if you don't want to trade in and out, I mean, the interest, the APY on Solana sits at about 7 or 8%, guys. So you can always be earning coins even during these downtrends if you want to do that. All right. I can't pause it. For whatever reason, hotkey is not working. So All right, so really in summary, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. We have to, Bitcoin on the line, SPY on the line, dollar and VIX coming down, while gold and Nvidia are currently headed up. So we have a lot of divergences, divergent indicators, creating some uncertainty in the stock market and with Bitcoin. However, altcoins appear to actually be good. We're ready to get in. You guys have, if you've been following me, know that I've been making some great trades. A couple of trades ago, I closed one off at 60%, 61% profit. All right. So if you're following me on those trades, congratulations. We're going to make many more of those coming up in the future. Until the next video, you guys, peace. I'll see you in the next video.